I am so excited today, Roz Gold-Onwude. Thank you so much for joining me today to unpack this really great WNBA opening weekend.
It has really been great, and I'm so excited to be on with you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course, it's my pleasure and honor and all the things, because you know you're big time.
Oh, girl, please. But it has been a big opening week. Like, I feel like the storylines, the players, everything delivered.
For sure. So, I mean, let's just get into it because I was at the Liberty's ring ceremony and banner celebration. And so I was there for that game, and it was such a lively environment.
Yeah.
Brooklyn was lively. You know a little something about Brooklyn. You're going to be staying there this summer, aren't you?
Oh, yes. I'm so excited for my Brooklyn summer with the New York Liberty. I'll be there full-time color analyst on games. You know, I know firsthand that everything that the Liberty do, it's A1. Clara, Wu-Tsai, Joe-Tsai, like, it is elite. And they took on that franchise in 2019. You know, this was a franchise that had a long way to go. They bought it for, what, $10, $15 million. Now have invested in it, have invested in a facility coming up, and the way the team travels and in the way the team felt, and brought in stars, win a championship, bring the banner to New York, to Barclays. The rings are beautiful. Seafoam colored torch is really unique. I haven't seen a ring that looks like that. Something else unique, did you see the crown earrings?
Yes.
Inside, you open up the ring
Yes.
and it opens up for crown earrings. Like, so just like the thoughtfulness, the banner being raised, the torch in the arena that's on fire, the tribute to past, present legends and difference makers. I think the Liberty have done a nice job of always taking a nod to former players who made a difference.
Absolutely.
And so I just think this is all a part of great leadership from the top down through the players roster and also through the organizational. It's a success.
Agree. They're an excellent ownership group, and they even had like mini banners for like fans. So I saw a lot of people who were posting their pictures after where they like put it up in their homes, in their rooms. Yeah. I mean, what a great little, you know, treat to get, you know, as their first championship in franchise history. So I feel like they thought of everything. It was the ring was definitely a lot of bling. I don't know if people still say that, but I mean, it was shiny. And
it was huge.
Yeah.
And it was Jacob of Beverly Hills, which I know a lot of the NBA teams do
I think
as well.
it's, wait, is it Jacob or Jason? It's
Jason.
Yes, Jason
of Beverly Hills.
Yes.
I know the rings that I've gotten while being a sideline reporter with the Warriors were made of Jason of Beverly Hills. So just huge, beautiful. And I think the tribute to the fans is special because there's a lot of carryover of fans who have been with the Liberty back when they're playing at Prudential Center or, you know, back when the league started. You know, you talk about in franchise history, this is in the history of the WNBA. It took them 28 years.
I know. And they were one of the original franchises, so
the original 8.
Look, it was fun. It was fun. And you know, Sabrina after the game, when we were talking to her, said like, you know, she wanted to make sure she took in the moment. She had a number of family members who flew over to be a part of it with her. Like, they didn't want to rush that moment. She wants to appreciate it because she's like, look, you don't know if it's gonna happen again. So they want to make sure they took the time to appreciate it. And then look, they got to business. They got to work. There was no championship hangover for this team. Were you surprised by how the Liberty looked to in this game?
No, I expected the Liberty to have a strong season and to be the favorites coming out of the beginning of it. What I was impressed with was that there were so many players in different new faces, familiar faces and new roles, and I thought that would take more time to mesh. And you know, look, it's only the first game of the season, but again, it's a new look, but it's still so deep. The Liberty have so much depth to their disposal, so many options. What stood out to me about the way the Liberty played is the spacing and the passing.
Yeah.
So like that half court set, we're not even talking about opportunistic runouts for layups or big booming threes in the fast break. I'm talking half court meat and potatoes set, and you got space. And then you've got players moving without the ball, and they're zipping and whipping that thing around. They had 27 assists and only 6 turnovers.
The other thing that I thought was really fascinating was the points in the paint. They had 56, I think, to the Aces 32. I mean, they weren't even knocking down their threes, and they still won in double digits against the Aces. And I know the Aces have some things to figure out, but I was really impressed. And I mean, Roz, you have so much experience. You used to cover the Golden State Warriors, so you've covered a dynastic team, a team that was like, you know, going for that. And like, we've seen the Warriors on like championship night, like kind of play like they got that hangover not the Liberty. So, I mean, I just found it really impressive what they did.
Yeah, and I think you talk about points in the paint. I mean, it's anchored by the forwards, right? So you have Breanna Stewart, you have Jonquel Jones, who aren't only doing it in the paint, they're doing it everywhere. They can score at different ranges. Jonquel will pull you out to three and also take the lob inside in the paint. You know, she'll work on the glass. That's a double-double right there. I was impressed by Stewie's efficiency, you know, from the field. Again, I'm keeping an eye on her three-point shooting this season. As I know last season that wasn't her best. But you know, just the efficiency there. Then coming off the bench and just waiting for like that moment where maybe one of them might have foul trouble or have an off night is Niara Sabally, who when healthy, the ceiling is this high. I mean, the depth, the levels and layers to it. You know, Sabrina Ionescu didn't necessarily have a great shooting game, but there's so many other options and ways the Liberties can manufacture offense. And Natasha Cloud was a great example of that.
Exactly. Like, she also, I mean, she was hitting the three, but she was also just getting to the rim at what, like, it didn't matter. She had wide open lanes. I mean, so she contributed to their points in the paint. And I was like, man, you know, I asked Sabrina about it too. I was just like, Tosh looks like she's been playing with this team for years. How did you develop that chemistry so quickly? And she said this is what we expected from her. You know, we knew she could do this. And it was funny because Nakai Duncan, I think, you know, he asked her about, you know, the fact that she wasn't over helping too much. She's like, I'm glad you said that because I've been doing it in practice. And
you know, I had a couple of chuckles. I was watching the broadcast, and they said that the Liberty this season are a much louder team. And that's because of Natasha Cloud. And I was like, I believe that because there's no quiet rooms or quiet practice with Natasha Cloud. And I think that's good, fresh energy coming to the Liberty. I was impressed by Natasha's drives and also her hitting the threes and Tosh showing up. But the most impressive thing for me was timeliness. So, you know, she talked right at the beginning of the season, I'm bringing the dog to New York. I'm bringing that dog. You can talk the talk, but here's where the bark happens, where the bite happens. It's when the Aces push that lead, start putting pressure on you, close it down to single digits, and you need somebody to respond. And I was very pleased to see that Natasha came through. Tosh came through with a couple of back-to-back plays and one plays to the rim. Those are tough buckets. Not only that, she's a bring-your-own-energy kind of player, meaning that she can create offense off of the defense.
Absolutely.
And so those are the types of things that, look, the Liberty have scorers and talent and all this depth, but what they miss in Benijah Hamilton and Kayla Thornton, those were players who were tough, gritty, will D up, created offense off of defense, could get to the rim and create their own bucket. There was a certain level of toughness that they brought, and I'm happy to see it in Tosh.
Yeah, she brought a lot of energy. They were loud for her. Even when she got a foul called on her, they still loved it. They were screaming.
She's easy to like. She's easy to love.
Very, very lovable. And, you know, she's really often known for her defensive prowess, but she did so much on the offense. That didn't surprise you at all, did it?
No. I've been covering Tosh for years, and I feel like she's always said, like even in game broadcasts that I've done of her team, she'd be like, I'm a bucket. You know, I'm more than defense. Like, I'm a bucket too. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That was me doing an interview with her, and I've always remembered that. And, you know, she's proven that. And the three-point shot, her ability to knock that down will only help with spacing. So as long as she's a threat, and there's going to be open looks because look at all those superstars on that team.
Exactly.
And look at the way the Liberty moved the ball. You got to be ready for your moment.
Got to be ready. You talked about, you know, bringing the defense and, you know, the Liberty defense really seemed to be frustrating the Aces. And, you know, we're not going to overreact to the first game. But to me, the Aces did not look like they were in, you know, on the same level with New York in that game. And they have some work to do. And I mean, Becky Hammond, Asia, they all spoke about it after the game. But they just picked up right where they left off New York. And Leonie Fibich, I think, really is the difference maker for them because she bothers Chelsea Gray. And if you're bothering Chelsea Gray and you can't, you know, she can't pass and she can't facilitate and play make the way that she does, it really changes that, you know, the Aces offense. And that's what I was seeing, you know, and if not, Chelsea has to get off some really hard shots. And she can knock them down, but they were not falling over the weekend.
Yeah, well, let me first just address Leonie Fibich before I get to Chelsea Gray. And you might have looked at the box score and thought that was a somewhat quiet game for Leone, but like it's the presence of things like that. It's her length and versatility on both offense and defense. In general, the Liberty are a long team. They're tall. And any of those lineups could be 5'10" and up from the point guard spot and up. And Jonathan Kolb did that by design. He must get a lot of credit for, making the right decisions on who to play the long game for. Long game for Leone Phoebish. Rebecca Gardner, long game, waited out her injury. Putting together the cap space to put these types of players together. It's art, and it works out. And he's got a formula of these long, versatile players that compete defensively. They may not even be the best, but they're willing to compete, and most of them can stretch the court. All right.
And she was a game time decision, by the way. We weren't even sure she was going to play.
Right.
From overseas, like she's been playing, but she may have needed a little rest. Came in and did that kind of effort, gave that kind of effort.
One thing I learned about Leone, I was unfamiliar with Leone's game last season. And I remember Coach Brundella, Sandy, told me at practice, I was like, oh, and she's a nice shooter. She's more than a shooter. Yeah. And I didn't know her. I wasn't familiar. And over the course of the season, what I learned is she's quite tough.
Yeah.
When those lights get bright, she was great. And that's huge plays down the stretch to help the Liberty win a championship. So not only, can she shoot it, she's long, she'll compete on defense. Is she the best defender in the league? No, but she's going to compete. She's good. And she's tough. And she makes plays when it matters. Okay, so Chelsea.
Yeah.
Chelsea is so important to the potential of what the Aces can be.
Absolutely.
And I watched her all unrivaled in Miami. And what I saw was a healthy Chelsea Gray.
Absolutely.
A rejuvenated Chelsea Gray.
Yes.
One that controlled everything that was happening on the court. And I said, oh, nah, the Aces are going to be. Because last season, I think one of the reasons they struggled was Chelsea wasn't healthy. And she makes so much happen for them.
Absolutely.
So, that wasn't her most efficient game to open the season, and I think the Aces struggle with that. But you also can't have Chelsea not have an efficient game. Kia Stokes only take one shot. Jewel Lloyd, struggle as well. Like, something's got to give. And I actually, did my math. Asia was 31 points. 11 for 22 shooting, 8 for 8 from the free throw line. These are good things. She looked like an MVP candidate to me already. The rest of the team shot 28% from the field. The rest of the team. And you already got a roster that's top 5 heavy, maybe 6. Yeah. It's the same question every year with the Aces. What are they going to get from their depth? And then that's just a lot to keep putting on Asia's shoulders. I wonder if Asia's, what's going on?
It is.
It's only one game.
It is.
It's only one game.
I think, look, part of it was the Liberty's defense, so I want to make sure I'm giving them credit. But, even Jackie, Chelsea, and Jewel, we know Jewel Lloyd is a bucket. They call her the Gold Mamba for a reason. Yeah. They were just missing some shots they would normally make. So, and Becky Hammond was really big on this. She's like, the shots are the shots. Mm-hmm. They'll shoot better. They're not going to always shoot like that. But she was not pleased with the defense at all, and neither was Asia Wilson. She's like, because you saw in the third quarter, that is what their defense is supposed to look like when they made that run, and they were able to cut it to 4 at one point. But she was just like, you're just letting people get right by you. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't just give up those layups, especially because, everything's going in the net, then we're not getting anything in transition. And so she just did not like the defense. She was not pleased with the defense, and that was her biggest thing. Yeah. And so, they knew it wasn't their best effort. They were not pleased after that game.
I think the defense is an excellent point, and that was it's continuing of some of the same issues from last season already. And so it's only one game into the first game, but they show spurts of what could be on defense. But there's too many times defensively against the Liberty, a team as deep and good as the Liberty, where they couldn't defend without fouling.
Yes.
They sent them to the line 21 times. So the defense, I think, could shore up some of the gaps they may have elsewhere. I do want to call out Jackie Young, who I think could have a breakout year this season. This is already an all-star player, so what's that next level of breakout? Yeah. I thought she had some really nice spurts and pockets offensively. She's never rushed. She can score at all ranges. Her body strength is there. Her confidence as well. So, I'm not actually too worried about Jewel Lloyd having a tough first game. There's going to be a meshing period.
Yes, of course.
And I just think the main thing for Jewel is just refining that joy and confidence.
Absolutely. And she said it in Arrival she was starting to, and even her old former teammates do. He said, I know Jewel's going to find her rhythm. It's odd to see her on the Aces, but I know she's going to find it. So, look, we're not panicking over the Aces,
not at all.
They had look, it was a litmus test for them. And I think that's actually a good thing for you to find out at the beginning of the season, that you're not quite yet with the Liberty, so you have time to get there if you really are trying to get back to the mountaintop.
What it did show me, though, is that A'ja Wilson is absolutely still right here in the MVP conversation after just one game. But, like, wow, the motor, the intensity, her mobility, like, the mix of skill and strength and pace that she plays with.
Her 100th double-double. I mean.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, sixth player in WNBA to do that. And it's so funny because she does that, and like there was one point I had to look because it's like it felt like she was having a quiet game, and then I was like, what is A'ja doing?
Yeah.
So, you know, she's just, what else can you say about her?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to continue the conversation of like who's most valuable to her team, you know, Asia's got to be right up in there, because what do you do if she's not there? But to me it's the motor A'ja plays with. She just plays so much harder, and like the intensity and the combination of skill and like how she's taking it right at you, and like you can feel the way her team feeds off of her fire. She's great.
Yeah. Well, look, I know the Aces will be fine, and they'll have a few soft teams. I don't want to, like, everybody can play in the WNBA, but
there's no easy nights in the WNBA.
There's not, but they're not going to be going up against a defense and the length of the Liberty in their next few games. So hopefully that will give them some time to mesh and build some chemistry.
Back.
Yes.
That could help.
Yes. So we will stay tuned, but Saturday was great. This segment was great. Thank you so much, Roz. I appreciate you.
Yeah, good to kick it.